there, friends. How are you? How are you? How are you? Today, we are talking about the gift of being a multi-passionate. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that is and a few ways that you might pay attention to that part of you if you're multi-passionate and use it to your advantage in your business. So first off, multi-passionates, I find that I tend to attract a lot of multi-passionates. It's not to say that all of my clients are multi-passionate, but many of my clients now and over the years have been multi-passionate people. I particularly think that people who are multi-passionate, people who are really creative, tend to be drawn to entrepreneurship because it's so open and expansive and there are very few rules and you can, create as many things as you want. And I want to just talk first about the gift of being a multi-passionate, because the truth is, if you're multi-passionate, if you are not, most multi-passionate people have had lots of evolutions in their life, definitely lots of evolutions in their career. If you were to look at the trajectory of somebody's business, maybe even like on a LinkedIn profile, if you were to like look at their, not of their business, of their career, if you were to look at sort of where they started and where they are now, you might on the surface think like, wow, that's completely, like those are completely different things. How do all of those, skills or types of jobs show up in one human? And I think that's a great example of just like a little clue when you know that somebody's a multi-passionate. If you like to change it up, if you really enjoy creating things, that's going to mean that you're probably not the person that knew what you wanted to do when you were a kid and did just that one thing for your entire career. Not to say that that's not valuable too. I have clients in that bucket as well. But I'm multi-passionate, and I think I know that there are things that come with being a multi-passionate person that absolutely are my and your and our gifts and talents and what make you who you are and what make really what make up part of your zone of genius. But oftentimes our society doesn't, at least at surface level, value the multi-passionate, right? You gotta, like old school traditional, like pick something and stick with it. Whether that's, an offer in your business or the business itself or just the type of career you have, romantic relationships, where you move. I've changed all of those things a lot. That has been part of how I've grown and learned and gotten to the point of where I am in terms of what I'm able to offer with my zone of genius. And yet I used to think that there was something wrong with me, that I couldn't stick to something. That if you're a person who, this doesn't mean you're multi-passionate, it certainly doesn't mean you have ADHD, I am both, but if you're a person that really likes to start things and aren't very good at finishing them, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. We just all have tendencies and preferences and skill sets and natural abilities in certain areas and not in all. And so I think, number one, if you are a multi-passionate person, if you love, the way I see this manifesting in business, the way I see this manifesting for myself and in my clients is just that, particularly this time of year where you're just sort of like, oh my God, like this is the year I'm going to write the book and start the podcast and, do a mastermind on top of I'll just use myself as an example, on top of my one-on-one coaching program. Whatever it is that you want to create. And I'm also going to start 3 new businesses, but I also want to invest in this person's business. And I want to help this person pro bono. Like, yes, you can do however many things you want to do this year. This isn't about that. But I find this time of year in particular, we tend to get a lot of brilliant ideas or a lot of like, okay, fresh start. Let's do all the things that we haven't gotten to yet. And while, that's amazing. And this isn't about like dampening or saying, you can only accomplish what's realistic. And no, I think you can accomplish anything you want. And if you want somebody who will help you believe that anything is possible and run your business that way, then I would love to support you, because that is absolutely one of my values and one of my philosophies. And it's very easy to allow, just like anything in life, anything in your sort of makeup, it's very easy to let something like your multi-passionate drive and tendencies, to let it also kind of get in your way, or to take it to such an extreme that you don't get traction on anything, because your energy is spread thin, your focus is spread thin, your team is spread thin, trying to accomplish, 18 things at once instead of 2 at a time. And so one of the things I want to share, well, first off, if you are feeling that something's wrong with you, that you can't stick to something, or that, oh my God, this keeps changing, why can't I, kind of land on something? Maybe that's your clue that you're multi-passionate, and it's more about, now how do I use that and capitalize on it and use it to my greatest ability, as opposed to deciding that there's something wrong with you for, frankly, you being you. And there's lots of different ways to run a business. That's why I help my clients run their businesses their way, in a way that makes sense for them. Because if you're not a multi-passionate, then some of the things that I say, you might actually want to consider playing with the reverse. So I just have 2 tips today for my beautiful multi-passionate peeps. Number 1, I hate to say this because I'm such a creative, fly by the seat of my pants, type B, anything is possible person. But what I also know to be true about creativity, what I know to be true about following your life's work and accomplishing what you want to accomplish, is that if you don't have a priority, if you don't identify for yourself what is most important in your work right now, it can just be for the year. You can set priorities, you can set intentions, you can set a word of the year. We did a couple of lives last week or earlier this month on that. You can check that out in the Facebook group. But if you don't have a priority or 2 priorities that win out every time over any other competing priorities, because you're going to have multiple priorities if you're multi-passionate, it will just be really hard to make traction on any one thing. And again, I don't believe that you can only do one thing at a time, but I do believe that when we can focus on 1 or 2 priorities, and that doesn't mean, I always recommend to my clients, get a back burner list, right? It doesn't mean just because you might move a project to, say, the 2nd quarter of this year or the 4th quarter of this year or to next year, doesn't mean you're not going to do it. And really checking in with yourself, because I know a lot of us, when we push something back or we say, okay, I'm not going to choose that as my priority right now, there is a little bit of grief and a little bit of worry that, oh my God, maybe I'll never pick that up. So you can have a back burner list, you can have a back burner project list, you can have some commitments that you might want to make to yourself around that. But then let's get back to, what are your top priorities right now in your business? And I really challenge you to pick 1. And then, because I don't like rules, okay, pick 2, right? Like pick 1, and then if you need to pick 2, but even within those 2, one's got to win. And this isn't about being rigid. This isn't about like following rules. This is about you making a commitment to yourself, to your work, to your business, to your clients, around being the best that you can at what you're wanting to put out. And if you're going to not be able to give everything some level of your full attention when it's in front of you, you're just doing a disservice to your work. You're doing a disservice to your clients. You're watering down what you're able to do. And frankly, I find that it's also one of the ways that we can self-sabotage ourselves. If you're multi-passionate and you really love, all the creating, it can be really easy to keep jumping from one thing to the other to satisfy that craving. And it also keeps the brains, our brains want to keep us safe. from things like success and money and enjoyment, sadly. And one of the ways that we can sort of get in our own way and self-sabotage is, well, you know, I have all these projects, so I have to do this and then I have to do this. And the only reason this one's not done is because I have to do this and I have to do this, right? And so just noticing where as I'm saying this, where you fit in, I think is really helpful. So number one, if you're a multi-passionate, please give yourself some grace and space for the blessings and the challenges that come with that. It's absolutely part of you and your genius, and it's time to capitalize on it. Number two, I challenge you to pick your top priority. And if you must set a second priority, do that as well in your business this year, or even this month or this quarter. And that will help you sort of not just from a mindset perspective, get focused, but also from an energetic perspective. And I find that when we are creating, our creativity really actually does love some structure, and it really just helps the subconscious mind. It helps your energy sort of vibe to really go, oh yeah, this really is my priority. And it helps. And then from a decision-making standpoint, it just makes it easier to make other decisions, to say yes or no to various opportunities, because you know what your priorities are. And then my second tip for those of you who are multi-passionate is, many times, because we have such a big vision, or we have multi-visions, we often lose track or lose sight of, or even lose perspective on where we are in time, where we are in the process. And I see a lot of the ways this plays out in my clients is this idea, this mindset of like, I should be further along by now with this project or this endeavor or this business, and not giving yourself the space and time to create what you're creating, because the truth is time is pretty much irrelevant in your work. I mean, if you are on a journey, hopefully you live a long time and you can create lots of things and do work in your zone of genius. If you're on a journey of doing your life's work, like, the beauty is you're never done, right? But we our brain sort of wants to give us that opportunity to be complete, or to say like, check. And sometimes we use our financial goals or certain projects or certain sort of milestones in our work to validate us and our work. And that's great. It's important to celebrate milestones. It's important to celebrate wins. But typically I find where people can get the hardest on themselves, if they're business owners, is when we're expecting ourselves to have accomplished something by a certain amount of time, particularly something new. And that time expectation, while yes, it's great to have goals and to believe that anything is possible at any timeline, it doesn't create space for creativity. It doesn't create space because the thing is going to be done when it's done. And so when you're pushing yourself on timing, when you're saying things to yourself like, this should have been done by now, or this is fine, it'll only take a month, and then you're wrong because you've never done it before and it takes you a year. When we judge ourselves for that, we really just get in our own way and start to set up expectations that aren't fair or realistic or relevant for what we're trying to create. And so I really want to encourage you to look at the way you're perceiving time, look at the way you're perceiving the pace and the sustainability of what your big goals, your big mission, your big projects are for this year, for this quarter, for this month. Again, you don't have to plan your whole year out. That doesn't work for me. I plan about a quarter or two at a time, and I keep my plans open. But if you're going to stay on this path, the only way to make it sustainable is to give yourself that grace and space to allow the magic to happen on its own timeline. And I encourage you to really let go of, or to do some thinking around where you are judging yourself for how long it's taking you to do something. And this is also just one of the ways where our brains get in the way and just tell us that there's problems in our work where there really isn't. And that also detracts from your problem solving ability to actually put your work out into the world and to shift your focus and your attention and your problem solving skills to the quote unquote problems that you're actually on point to solve right now, which is your top priority, right? And that's not to say that your priority is a problem, but it's that problem solving skill, the fun problems of like, how can I do this? Okay, how do we want to do this? What's the best way to do this? What are the big messages that I want to share with people around this? How do I want to serve people? What kind of impact am I looking to make? Those are the places where your brain is more powerful, and they're and you're going to actually get where you want to go, versus deciding and spending time and energy, judging yourself for not being there yet. If you're multi-passionate, let me know, drop me a line. And if you want some support this year or this quarter or this month in creating what's next for you, in picking a priority, that's oftentimes something that I help my clients with. And I've been having a lot of these kinds of conversations so far this year. I've got a free coaching session, so take me up on it. I'll put the link here in the comments, and I'd love, love, love to support you. 2023 is your year, particularly if you're wanting to do a bunch of things. And if you have so many big things and big visions and big missions, I am so here for that. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you're looking for somebody to help you get there in a way that also gives you sustainability and a life, that also gives you an opportunity to really do the things that you want to do and to thrive along the way. I'm really big on finding the way to run your business, finding the way to accomplish all of these multi-passionate projects, tasks, businesses in a way that allows you to thrive and your business to thrive. That's my magic. Hop on a free call with me. They won't be around forever, but I really, really want to keep offering these for a little bit and give people an opportunity to really just set themselves up for the year. So if you're looking to make a big decision, if you want to help with your priorities, if you just want to think through how multi-passionate plays out in your work, or you're going through some sort of pivot or transition in your work, hop on a free call with me. We will do all the things.